There you are. So look, good morning, folks, and you're all very welcome to this exciting module the Institute is hosting in partnership with our colleagues in Google this morning, which we're really looking forward to. The summer has flown. Since last we had one of these sessions with our colleague Niamh, which was really well received. And we were beginning to see the beginning of the end of the pandemic. So please God, we'll all navigate safely to what the remainder has in store for us and come out the other side in reasonably good order and safe and sound. And I hope that for you and your families as well. In any event, the IMCA, or more formally known as the Institute for Management Consultants and Advisors, is the professional body here in Ireland representing the profession of management consultancy. We have a broad and growing membership and have 23 accredited master's level postgraduate courses right across the country, with over 600 students joining us alone this year and 6 new courses due to come on stream, with the roster being increased by about 120 odd students when they come online by the end of September. So we certify practitioners with the Certified Management Consultants designation, the CMC, as it's proudly known and worn, and promote best practice in the profession and engage with government, for example, in terms of regulations and so forth and so on. We have many registered consulting and accredited consulting practices who are members of the association and the Institute, and we appreciate their support. Equally, as part of a global organization, the IMCA, we have to know our TLAs, our 3-letter abbreviations, or in this instance, our 5-letter abbreviation. I'd like to say particular welcome to Rima and to Dwight, our international president, who are joining us here this morning, and Rima, who is our international secretary, who looks after us all so well. As part of a global community, being a member of the Institute allows you kind of effectively a professional passport so that you can work anywhere and be accredited and recognized as a qualified management consultant from America to the UK, out to the Middle and Far East and over into Europe. So that's really powerful and something that we really promote and get a big welcome whenever our members join fellow organizations, particularly in the States and Silicon Valley. So look, I want to especially give a big shout out to Kim and Niamh from Google, who have been so professional in their engagement with us so far, and without whom we would not be here today. Let's be honest. So thank you, ladies, very much indeed for your patience and support, and really looking forward to this exercise over the next 4 mornings or so over the next couple of months. So really excited, and thank you. So I know it's not me you're here to see. So in this webinar that's coming up, which is on search engine optimization, SEO as it's better known, we're going to take you through the pillars, or rather they're going to take you through the pillars of the cutting edge of SEO and share tips on how you can improve your rankings on popular search engines to attract the right visitors to your website, which clearly after the learnings of the pandemic is mission critical to have your house in order in terms of your virtual shop window. So look, you're going to walk away from this learning more about how search engines work. You're going to discover what SEO is, and you learn about the key pillars of SEO and what you can do to improve your website's visibility. And, I think enjoy the morning, grab your coffee, let's rock and roll and take the ship of state out. Okay, enjoy. And look, we'll talk to you at the next session. Looking forward to that, and we'll send you out details in due course. Bye.
Well, thanks, Pat. What a fabulous introduction. Pat has already told you quite a lot about what we're going to be talking about today. But before I go on any further, I'd best let you know who I am. So my name's Christine, and I'd love to welcome you to this Google Digital Garage training session. We're talking today, as Pat says, about getting started with search engine optimization. And we are in collaboration with the Institute of Management Consultants and Advisors. I'm one of the trainers here on Google's skills training program, the Google Digital Garage, and I've been a part of the Digital Garage program since about 2015. I'm a marketeer by trade, and I was going to say lucky enough, old enough, I guess is the right word, to have been around and in marketing before digital was even a thing. I worked for one of the world's biggest companies who thought if they just ignored the internet, then it might go away. Fast forward all those years, and obviously that hasn't happened. But I've been really privileged to be able to work with tons of small businesses, lots of freelancers, entrepreneurs, all kinds of people who are just looking to find their way in the digital space. And what I always will say is, there's always steps you can take to go forward. So what I want from you for today is to maybe take away 1, 2, 3 things that you can do straight away that's going to get you closer to where you want to be. You don't have to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. So let's get you a few steps closer along that line. Alongside me today, I have our fabulous moderator, Sarah. Now, Sarah is also one of our experienced Google Digital Garage coaches. We've worked together for a good few years now. And Sarah is in the chat right now. Some of you might even have already met her. She's, as I say, she's also one of our Google Digital Garage coaches. And her role today is to chat, really. She'll be interacting with you. She'll be dropping you useful links. She'll be answering questions, asking some questions of her own, maybe. So she's in there right now, and that's a fantastic resource. Normally, when you go to some kind of talk, there's talking and then there's question and answer sessions. As we are now, whilst the session is going on, any questions that come up, you don't have to wait for a break. You can get those questions in as we go through. You can tell you're talking to Sarah, and she is the moderator. Well, first of all, she's called Sarah. And secondly, she has that little blue spanner next to her name, which shows that, well, pretty much she's the one in charge. She's also in charge of trying to keep me on time and from talking too much at you. Little bit of housekeeping for you. If you've got any trouble viewing the webinar right now, best thing to do is just to refresh that page. It does tend to sort out most of the issues people find. If you want to join in that instant chat, and I really hope you do, then you need to be signed into a YouTube account. You can very easily set one up if you don't have one already by clicking up in the box on the right there, and there's no charge to do that. Or pop up to the same box and sign on in to an account, and then you'll be able to enjoy that chat feature as well. I'm going to pause throughout the session to answer some of those questions from the chat box. If Sarah thinks there's a particularly interesting question that would be great for the whole group to hear, then she's going to fire those over my way, and we'll get to as many of those as we can in the time available. So do feel free to fire away with those questions all the way throughout. Now, we're also running more Google Digital Garage webinars in different subjects. So if you want to check out the schedule, please see information on that. There's links in the description below that will take you through to our website. I would, however, heads up that the next session we have is same time on September the 30th, so 10:30 a.m., September the 30th, when we'll be talking about Google Ads. Now, we're going to touch on, when we're talking about search, we'll touch briefly on ads today, but we're really going to focus on that organic part of the search today. And just one other piece of information that I think is really important for you is that IMCA members can claim CPD hours for this event and the other events in the series. To do this, you've got to contact the IMCA directly. It's at admin@imca.ie. There's links in the description box below, but do claim those hours because you are learning and improving, and it's worth having those too. Okay, final thing I wanted to tell you about is you should feel free, as well as the Google Digital Garage resources we've got, there's a fantastic new Google for Small Business website. That's your one-stop shop for the products, the tools, and the training you need to help your business move forward. There's a simple step-by-step online success guide to help you show up on Google. You can create or improve your website, you can reach more customers, and you can build loyalty there. So Sarah, if you wouldn't mind sharing a link to that for me, please, or you can grab the link from the description box at any time. If you've got any feedback from today's session, please complete the feedback form, which again is linked down in the description box. Once you complete that feedback form, a link will appear and you can actually download today's content. And we will also leave this training live for you for the next 24 hours or so. So hopefully you've got your cup of tea and a pen and paper and taking some notes. But if there's anything that you think, that's what I need to know, jot down the time code. And then you'll be able to rewatch the video over the next 24 hours and jump back to the place that you were looking for. Okay, that's quite a lot of housekeeping done. Let's take a look at what we're going to have a look at today. So first up, before we get started improving our search engine results, we've got to really take a little step back, a little step up, and have a look at how search engines actually work. Because the more you know about the workings of search engines, then you'll be able to adapt the work you're doing to make sure you get the most out of them. Then we'll take a look at how you can get started with some search engine optimization, or SEO. And then we're going to take that on the next level. So optimizing your search engine strategy. So hopefully wherever you are in your knowledge and the practices that you're using at the minute, there's going to be something that's going to allow you to take a step up. We will try and keep it as user-friendly as possible. We don't go too deep into the technical side of things, because actually, as a marketeer, I firmly believe that marketing is about people. And as management consultants, that's kind of the business you're in too. So it's all about learning about people and then using the tools to make sure you're seen in the best possible way. All right. But before we jump in, just to give me an idea of who you guys are and what you're up to, what would be amazing if you could pop in the chat, tell Sarah anything you're currently doing to market your goods and services to customers. A couple of reasons for doing this. One, it'll get people active in the chat, which we love to see. But also, it'll give me an idea of the sorts of things you're doing already. So we're talking about offline. Do you have leaflets, brochures, attend trade shows, as well as online? Maybe you're using social media, or you've got a website. Maybe you're doing something else. Are you running ads? How are you finding those new clients for your business? Or are you somebody who works very traditionally on word of mouth? You're always being recommended, which is part of marketing as well. I think I can tie everything back to marketing, though. The business managers love me for that. All right, so pop something in the chat box. Have a think about how you currently market your goods and your services to customers. We can start to learn a little bit more about each other. While you do that, because obviously the thinking and the typing will take a few seconds, and I don't want to wait around for that for too long, is let's take a look and think about how search engines work. Okay, so have a think about it. What is the primary purpose of a search engine? I think if you can think about what the search engine is trying to achieve, or the search engine companies are trying to achieve, then you can really start to work out how to match what they want and need from you. Drop the answers into the chat if you want. What do you think the purpose of that search engine is? It's really interesting to think about. So a search engine wants to get you almost off their site as quickly as possible, in a way, which is kind of opposite to what a lot of us want to do with our websites. The search engine's job is to be as easy and as intuitive and as really in the background. You want a frictionless experience, because the easier the search engine makes it to find the results that its users want, the more likely they are to come back. So the search engine wants to show the most relevant search results for the searcher. That's all it's trying to do. And we're going to look at how search engines do this. But if you think the primary purpose is to be useful to the user, brings us right back to that human element. We'll talk about computer programs and algorithms and spiders. At the central operation of any search, there is a human being looking for something. And the search engine's job is to get as quickly as possible to those relevant, good answers. So overarching, when you're thinking about search, I want you to keep in your mind, you can write these at the top of your pages, is what questions are you a good answer to? Right? So Google's mission is to make all the information available and usable worldwide. And the information presented by those search engines is limitless. They're just a tool to help you access information. And Google wants to give you, as a user, the best user experience. It wants to provide you with the most relevant search results based on the query that you've entered. Okay. So if you're designing your website and thinking of that customer at every single stage, you're already miles ahead of the competition. Okay. So let's have a think. So Kyle says they want the search to find the information they need as quickly as possible. Exactly. Great answer. You've just summed up in one sentence what it's taken me 2 minutes to say. Fantastic work. Thank you. So, business benefits for a search engine. So, by marketing yourself to be found on search, you've got this improved reach. So somebody who's looking for a business or service like yours, whether it's global or really local, you suddenly get in that mix. You can get yourself found because customers are searching for businesses. I love search because it's a really direct channel. In terms of a decision-making journey, people tend to think of something, search for something, find something, take an action. So you're actually, if you're presenting yourself in the search results, you're displaying yourself at the time when those potential customers are thinking of taking actions. It's a great place to be in terms of conversion there. So we've got the global, which is, I think, how we traditionally thought of search engines. You can be found globally. But what the last 18 months have taught us, and nothing else, is this power of local. So local SEO we'll talk about as well, which is the process of appearing when somebody close by you searches and showing as a great result because you might be smaller, but you're local, and therefore it really gives you a lot of power. And, to increase your exposure online, to get yourself found, you need to be findable. It can help increase footfall if you have a physical business, or if you have online stores, drive that traffic to you, which means you can generate that online revenue. And you can also see, even if you don't have a physical business, maybe you're selling a service, you can see leads being generated. Or you meet somebody in person and they search for you afterwards. And there's a real element of trust and dependability by having a good web presence. First thing I do when I meet something, afterwards I'll search them up. So having that credibility there of being findable is really, really important. So it can help you connect and communicate with customers and potential customers. And the other thing you can do, which I think sometimes people miss when they're thinking about search engines and how they can help them, is you can actually learn about your customers. How do people find you? What words are they searching for that are relevant to you? Are you communicating in the same language? Because humans use language and they search. They don't, really interesting thing about humans, you've probably noticed, but they don't always do what they're meant to do or what we think they'll do. So it's a fantastic opportunity to observe and learn what's actually happening through real data. You've got quantitative data, you can analyze things. Having known quite a few management consultants along the way, you're going to love the measurement and analysis side of it. So we know the purpose and we know some of the benefits brought by search engines. Let's have a look at the ways they actually go about doing it. So you'll have heard of algorithms probably. So the algorithm is the computer program, the mathematical formula that creates the search results. We know that search can always be better. No such thing as perfect. We're always striving and working towards better. So Google engineers spend every day testing the search engine, learning more, observing more. They conduct hundreds of thousands of experiments every year, which may result in thousands of tiny improvements to the search algorithm. We'll take a quick look at how this works, but if you want it explained really, really well, the best thing to do is to check out the How Search Works page on Google, which, Sarah, would you mind sharing that link for me? Because it's really interesting. Well, I find it really interesting, but if you are coming from the point of view of wanting to improve the work you're doing, understanding more about what's going on in the background is really, really key. So search engine algorithm is a mathematical formula. Countless factors are included. They're never published, the factors, exactly, but what through knowledge and through experience, we're going to talk about the long-term things that you can do that seem to work really well. I've been working in websites for, gosh, it's coming up to 15 years, I guess, really, with websites. And the things that worked then have continued to work. Fads and trends have come and gone, but writing in a way, writing your content with your user in mind and then making it neat and tidy for the algorithm is probably the best strategy I can think of. But important guidelines are published. Okay, so it's worth checking those out if you're interested, but being genuine and honest and authentic and writing for the customer that you want to, who's most likely to be interested in what you're saying, and then doing the behind the scenes work is the, as I say, the strategy I would suggest to employ. And what we're talking about here is an absolute decisive way that the organic search result algorithm is defined. We'll talk a little bit about what that means in a moment too. Okay, so how exactly does that happen? So a spider, a program, crawls around the internet. It follows links, okay? And as the spider's crawling about, it visits websites, okay? So the better linked your page is, the more likely that spider is to follow a link and find your website, okay? Then that spider crawls through your website structure, visits all the pages and indexes them. So it does its best to understand what's going on any particular website page. All the information that collects is saved into the search engine database, so that when a user asks a question, they pop in that search query, those relevant results are searched through and those index results are pulled back and displayed so that the most relevant answers are given top billing. So here's my user asking a question. The search engine's job is to get that information to that searcher as quickly as possible, the best, most relevant, most useful information. Okay. As I say, check out the How Search Works for how it actually all, for a lot more detail with much better graphics as to how it all works. But those relevant websites. So to be doing true search engine optimization, the goal is to have your website showing in the search results. Okay, that's for your kind of global search engine optimization. Okay, now let's take a look at it. I'm assuming you'll probably have seen something that looks a little bit like this before. This is the search engine results page, or SERP, as it's often called. So, as I say, you're going to be familiar with this, but what's happening is in the red box, somebody somewhere types in a question, a search query, okay? And do think of these as actual questions. Every time you search from now on, I want you to become a student of search. How do you type in? What do you type in? Ask other people, especially if they're the kinds of people who are likely to buy from your business. You know, how would you search for this? What would you look for? What words would you use? Because words are really important. So first up, we've got that search query that a human being has typed in to the search engine. Then what sometimes comes up at the top are these paid results, okay? Paid text ads and paid shopping ads. Different things appear in that box. And then below that, we have our organic listings. Okay, so there we're going to have text results, which are what we're going to be talking about today. All right, so ads are the paid listings that can appear above the organic listings, tend to be, if they're going to be text ads, about 4 can appear there. So we know the way the page is structured. let's have a look at the kinds of different formats, because gone are the days when it is just text-based. What your search engine results page wants to do is be as useful as possible. So there's lots of different formats. It might be that if I search for coffee shops, then rather than bringing me back results, text results on coffee, they might be further down the page, because the first thing it's going to do is bring me up a map, okay, with pins in it. It might bring me up web pages, as we've said. It might bring me up deep links into PDFs, so published research. It might come up as an image search. So if it thinks that you're looking for beautiful sunsets, you might get some images on that top section. Videos now come up in search as well. So if I was looking for how to fix my tumble dryer, which I still have to do, and I'm going to go to YouTube and it's going to sort me right out, then I might get those videos appearing directly in the search results. And of course, we've already spoken about it. It could be ads, shopping ads and things. Okay. So depending on what you're looking for, the search engine results page adapts and changes. So that's really important. And you can think about, okay, for the questions my user is going to be looking for, what kind of information would be really useful for them? And check out the different formats and see how you can use that power of that knowledge to help you. I'm going to just check in with Sarah, see how everything is. So Lionheart management content, do referrals help? Referrals absolutely help. We're going to talk about that in the next section, I think. So you've really set me up well there. But yeah, absolutely, referrals are fantastic. From other websites and things, good quality links are one of the key pillars that can help you be found. So let's carry on through. It's a great question. Do keep those questions coming in. But for right now, what I'm going to do is jump back here. Okie dokie. Because what I want to do is, we've talked about the theory and about what's going on in the bigger world. What I want to do now is help you to get started with search engine optimization. And search engine optimization is the sum total of behaviors that are going to get you found on the search engine results. So technically, search engine optimization, or SEO, is the practice of improving the ranking of your website. And that idea of practice is really important, I think. It's this idea of we're striving towards better all the time. It's not a one-time tick box exercise. We don't just do a course, follow a few steps, and forget about it. The practice of it means every time you learn something new about your customer, well, how is that going to help me be found? Keeping on top of any kind of changes or any published information on how search is working, and also checking in and looking at your analytics and seeing how well you're doing and seeing what you can do to improve. So search engine optimization, which is improving the visibility of your website within the natural search results of a search engine by making it more visible and more relevant to search engines and to the search engine user most likely, without paying for clicks or ads. All right. So next week we'll go into the wonderful world of ads. But for today, what we're thinking about are those. And I will never say free. And if I do say free, then Sarah will pull me up on it, because search engine optimization, you don't pay for the clicks or for the clicks. But what it does cost is your time and your resource and your love and your thought. You know, when you're spending time on your search engine it's hard to say SEO. Let's just say SEO. When you're spending time on your SEO, then, you know, there are other things you could be doing. So there is a resource issue here and a learning issue and a love issue. Okay. But it's worth doing, because by being found at the right time, you can by the right people at the right time for a really good, clean, wonderful, relevant, authentic, useful website can absolutely help you convert your visitors, get more visitors in the first place, and then help convert them into customers. Because the people coming to you are relevant, or you are relevant to them and to what they want. It is actually incredibly cost efficient. way to improve your marketing. It's one of the ways, that you can absolutely make sure with a relatively low cost that you are being found. You can go out and find new customers. They can find you. You can talk about what you're doing and how you're doing it, and when you're relevant. I think the real key thing for me from a marketing benefit is that the people who come to you are relevant results. You are relevant to them, so you're much more likely to convert them. Okay, the better your search engine optimization, the more focused that will be, and therefore the conversion rate should be higher. So you increase that relevant traffic to your website, get yourself a higher position in organic search. It's all about, for me, relevancy and conversion. Okay, so there's a couple of golden rules, and I'm hoping that these aren't going to feel new to you, because I have been trying to emphasize in everything I do in marketing, but absolutely consistently, hopefully throughout this, you'll get the feel that you write for the human, you write for the person, you write to be a good answer. Okay, but you've got to remember that it's not a case of if you build it, they will come. It's a case of if you write a great, relevant, useful website, you then have to make sure that it's technically viewable by the spiders, by the bots. So you've got two lenses going on. You've got to have great content for the customer. There's no point, though, doing the spider stuff if the customer stuff isn't right. So I would always get started with the customer. Who's your customer? Who are you a great result for? And then make sure that great content is findable. Okay, because Google's goal is to show the most relevant search results. But the customer and the spider do search for things differently. So it's really worth, when you're creating your website or when you're reviewing your website, which I suggest you do on a pretty regular basis, that you make sure that you've got the customer and the spider in mind. Okay, so for the potential customer, you've got to have great information in appealing, clear language. Don't make them click around 4 million things to get to the place you want to get to. Be helpful. Be useful, be relevant to them. But for the spider or the bot understands the site on the basis of the technical elements there. So tags that appear in the source code of your website. So for that, you're going to need to use technical language. And if tags and source code are already blowing your mind, don't worry, you'll have to find somebody technical who will help you right out with that. Okay? Because both approaches are super important. So I'm going to jump into, I think this might be the first proper tool I've recommended for you today, guys. So search engine optimization, getting yourself boosting your visibility on search engines. An amazing tool that I would highly recommend for anybody with a website is Google Search Console. Okay, Google Search Console is a tool that's available at no cost. And it helps to tell you more accurately how you rank on Google search. So you can monitor how you're doing in search. And this is really interesting. Do the words that you think people would use to find you, are they the words people are using to find you? Where are you ranking for those words? Is there lots of competition? And you can also start to get an insight into how people are searching. So as I say, for those analytical people amongst you, this is fantastic information. The other thing it does, so it analyzes your site for you, and it will send you an alert on critical issues. We'll tell you, you can run a report and it will tell you how to improve. Ways to help Google find your content using Google Search Console. First up, is to submit a sitemap. We'll talk a little bit more about sitemaps in a moment, but that's going to be a way that's going to help the spider to index your website. Then you have to promote yourself on and offline, and that's where those referrals are going to help, those links that are going to help you. You can check out the links and see what's being sent to and from. And then write the content and keep it neat and tidy. Okay. But in terms of step 3, helping Google to understand your content, write great content and then make sure you label it well. It's down to making sure the headers, for example, are really descriptive. The page titles are accurate and unique. The titles work, the snippets of text, any tags you've got, heading tags for important text, we'll take a little bit of a look at that. Basically, what you're looking for is a really logical structure to your website that's well laid out so that without having to be, an expert in your business, the structure of where to find what and which questions you're a great answer to are nicely laid out. So search engine optimization helps you to improve your website's visibility when people are searching for something, products or services that you offer. In terms of top tips, getting started with it, research is absolutely key. There are no shortcuts to search engine optimization. And if anybody comes to you with the latest trick to, game the system to beat the search engines, run a mile. Those things don't work long term. Okay. So how to go about doing it well is know what people are looking for. Know what the real humans who are likely to buy your products or services, likely to be interested in what you've got to say. Run keyword research to understand the questions they're asking. How do they phrase their questions? Do they use 1 or 2 words, or do they use longer phrases? It's really worth thinking about how, this is why I want you to become a search. If I search for coffee shop, say, coffee shop's not a great one because the maps thing we'll talk about is excellent. But maybe I search for trainers. Okay. Now, what I'm actually looking for is a local store that can sell me, do a trainer fitting for specialized running. I don't do specialized running, but suspend disbelief for a minute. If I just put in trainers, I'm going to get all the big brands come up. So what I do is I iterate my search. So run the research to find out the longer phrases that people are going to use. We'll talk about a little bit more about that. Then you have to publish things that people want to read. Great quality content. Think about video. Think about images. Make sure you write good descriptions and headers and tags for your images and your videos, as well as the text pieces. Write content that the user is going to read and then make those pages search friendly. So those keywords, as I said, are the words or phrases that the search engine uses to match your website to the terms that people are searching for. So the keywords, when we say the word keyword, it's actually normally much more often a phrase that's used. Okay. Fabulous. All right. So let's have a think about your keywords. Okay. So how to think about your keywords, get into your customer's head and identify those needs. But there are also some tools that you can help. So we'll talk a bit more about it next week, but within the Google Ad platform, which is where we'll be talking next week, there's an amazing tool called the Keyword Planner. And you can use that at absolutely no charge. You have to sign up for a Google Ad account, but you don't have to then go on and run it if you don't want to, although maybe after next week you'll want to. But the Keyword Planner is in there. You can also, so that's a great tool there again at no charge, that you can look and see for your website the kinds of words that it would suggest people would be looking for. But you can also do it by talking to people. Okay. And what you might want to do is, rather than just sitting in your own head and thinking, ask people, right? But then it's how you go about thinking about creating these longer search phrases. And one way you can do that is with combinations. So here's a game you can play along at home and pop some words into the chat if you like. Let's think of a business. So imagine you're working with a boutique independent clothes store in Dublin. Can you think about that kind of store it would be? It's small, it's cool, it's got great stock. What kinds of keywords do you think people would look for to find a business like that? Pop some in the chat if you like. As I say, this is a nice game to play along at home. If I were looking for a boutique store, I might put in boutique store. I might want to do something about, well, maybe it's going to be important that it's to its location. Maybe it's fashion. Maybe it's men's fashion, women's fashion, cutting edge fashion, latest designs, latest trends. All of these kinds of things. So it doesn't just have to be boutique clothes store or independent boutique clothes store. Think of the words that people would find that you would be a great answer for. As I say, you could pop some in the chat and let Sarah know if you like. But in terms of what you're looking to do then is start making lists of those words. Okay. And when our team did this, just as a for example, although I think you probably could come up with some excellent ones as well, they kind of broke it down into some areas. You can imagine them doing this with on a big wall with lots of post-it notes, keywords that are related to that business. So fashion, clothes, designer, boutique, all of those wonderful words. Then you might think about words that are related to your location. DO1, Dublin, Ireland. And then you can think about making more keywords, because a keyword we're thinking about phrases, by extending that. So clothes in DO1, fashionable clothes DO1, fashion Dublin, men's fashion Dublin, women's fashion Dublin, making these longer lists, boutique fashion, of all the kinds of words that people might use. Okay. So as Coyle says, we've got independent boutique in Dublin. Amazing. So that's there again, going longer. Think about people are going to search in more than one phrase. When you search and you don't get what you want straight away, you add more words in. Okay. Brilliant. So pop some more phrases in there as you want. Think about it and then think how you might look at doing that for your own business. And this idea of combining keywords works really well. So you, as a kind of brainstorming exercise. Okay. But it's not all about keywords. All right. Make sure that your site is a trustworthy site. All right. So a site with a good reputation is trustworthy. So create a reputation for trustworthiness or knowledge in your area. All right. For instance, the kind of information might be, who publishes your site, who provides the content. It might be making sure your security certificates are up to date. And if you've got shopping and other financial transaction, make sure that there's great customer service available. So if there are any users with queries, then you can make sure they're answered. And who's responsible for this content? Where does it come from? It can just be a note down in the footer of your page. It doesn't have to have a big onerous deal, but make sure you're talking about those trust and making sure those technologies are right. So secure pages. If you have a shopping checkout page, make sure you build the trust of using a secure connection, a secure payment method. Because if those things aren't there, people aren't going to trust you and they start to worry about what else is wrong with the site. Really important, especially in the management consultancy world, is to be showcasing your expertise. Make sure it's good content that's up there, useful content, relevant content, correct content. You've got to stand by everything you say on that website. So if you're going to quote sources, use reputable sources and link to them. Cite them properly. Make sure it's factually accurate. Make sure it's clearly written. Make sure it's comprehensive, and try and make sure it's a bit interesting to read as well, because these things are going to help. And if you are going to run adverts on your site, quite a lot of content publishing sites do, try not to have too many, because too many ads looks really spammy. And if they're too distracting, then that's not going to help you at all. I've used sites where the actual ads are so intrusive that you can't use the site. So try and avoid that sort of thing. Okay. So we focus mainly on global rankings there, but local SEO is really important. And you can actually do local search engine optimization without even having to have your own website. So this is where you can appear locally and connect with customers based on a geography. Okay. So the best tool I know for this is a tool called Google My Business. And Google My Business, there's no charge to use it. And it provides information on search, such as, so I'll search for that coffee shop again, and it will tell me its business hours. It will give me photographs and show me what the place is like. I might want to check out the menu, see if it's the kind of place I would like. So the other thing you can do there is collect reviews. So those recommendations can be displayed in a universal format in your Google reviews. So it's really, it's a great place to be found. So make sure your contact details and your address are correct, because that's going to, Google has to know where you are to boost you locally. If your business has any kind of a local intent, it's really worth doing so. But you're going to need to be genuinely based where you say you are. Okay. And then the other thing you can do is look at being listed in local search directories. Maybe they're Yelp, Thompson, local, Yelp, TripAdvisor. Depending on your business, there'll be different kinds of local directories for businesses like yours. And think about search intent. So when people are searching locally, what's important to them? Is it the convenience? Is it the fact that it is a local business and they want to support their community? Is it the fact that they can drop in later today and pick up the products, for example? Or that they know that when they're dealing with you, you'll be local to them. And there's a real, if a lot of your competition is global, for example, then you being local to somebody can be a real trust factor. So shout about that. Okay. So we're going to talk about it more next week, but just very briefly, we're going to think about search engine optimization, which is the natural search results versus the marketing side of things. So we only sell ads. We don't sell those search results. So advertisers can pay to be displayed in the clearly marked advertising sections, but you can't buy better placement in the search results. Okay. And if an ad isn't relevant, it will not show. Okay. So for SEO, it's not free because you pay, your time and love and resources go into it. You optimize for the keywords and it can take that time to rank. With search engine marketing, you pay for the listings, but you still have to be relevant. You bid on the specific words you want to be found for, and you can also use negative words for things you don't want to be found for. And you can get onto and off of that first page straight away. But when you know more about it next week, that'll be something to consider. Right, I'm being told by Sarah to kick on quickly through. She's answering questions I know in the chat. We'll take one more question session once we've had a look at how you can, if you're already working on SEO, take that up a notch. Okay, so we're going to optimize the strategy. We do go a little bit more technical here, my friends, but we'll try and keep it nice and user-friendly. Okay, so there are two kinds of ways to work on your search engine optimization, on your search visibility. There's on-page and off-page. So we're going into detail today. I'll try and go into detail on the things that you can have the best influence on. So you can have the most influence on. So on-page SEO is about ensuring that the web page is built in a neat and tidy way. So when you build it, the web code is optimized to be found. All right. And that's when we get into codes and content and HTML and things. With off-page SEO, it's all the activities that you and others do away from your own website. So search engine optimization isn't just about your own website. And we don't only think about the customer when we're building our website for search. So this kind of being useful and relevant thinking can go into all kinds of places. Link building is really, really, really important for off-page. And the best links that you can get, because remember, your spiders are going to follow links to get to you. Good quality links are what we're looking for. We're not going to look and try and get hundreds of links from random places. We're looking for reputable and trustworthy sites. Okay, so a link to your site is called a backlink because it links back to your site. A good review is fantastic for that. So if you've got a great review and it links to your website from a trustworthy place, that's a fantastic testimonial type link is really good. But also consider links from social networks. Okay, so linking from your own social media to your website. Social media pages are crawled almost constantly. If I make a search, it's quite likely that social results will come up before website results in a lot of cases. So think about your social media presence, if you have one, is absolutely key to being found. And things like, I guess, in the management consultancy world, maybe things like LinkedIn, making sure you're linking from your LinkedIn to your own website, building those links, building that trust. Okay, so the on-page SEO you can manage yourself or find somebody to manage it for you, just as you would manage a store yourself if that's what you had. Off-page SEO you have less control over. You can't control the popularity of another page, but it's still worth building on and thinking about. Okay, so let's have a look at key elements for on-page SEO first. So remember again that we're thinking about good quality content. All right, and remember this good quality content, quality in two aspects: the lens of the customer and the lens of the spider. So quality-wise, we're thinking about specific, relevant, unique, and original content for your customers. And then you make it easy to read. Clear fonts, contrasts, black text on a white background is still the most accessible, easiest to read. So don't go too designy with what you do. Make sure it's easy to read. Then think about those words that you might look up, that people might look up, and make sure that your content uses those words in a genuine way that's interesting to read. I worked with a business not so long ago, small business, and they were offering diversity and inclusion training. And they talked on their website a lot about it, but then we audited their website and they only once mentioned the word inclusion and twice mentioned the word diversity in all of their content. But of course, because they kind of almost assumed people knew that's what they were about. So look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. Do a count of the times you use your keywords. If somebody doesn't know you, is it going to be obvious that that's what you're talking about? Keep the content up to date and don't just copy and paste it from somewhere else. Okay. If you are going to reuse content from other people, making sure you're attributing it correctly. But if it looks like a duplicate, it's not going to work so well for you. So if you have a blog, keep updating it. Blogs are great because they can be updated often, and for a lot of people, it's an easier way to update. But a blog that hasn't been touched in 2 years just looks a little bit poor. And think about, we've mentioned it already, but it's not all about text. Okay, so images, videos, really important too. We've thought about to those keywords. Don't choose keywords that are aspirational. Choose keywords that you can actually deliver on. Okay, and you can check out and see how often these words are searched for. It might be the kind of long tail where people don't search for them often, particularly often, but there's less competition there. So it's worth thinking about all the different ways that people can search for products and words that you're going to be using. Okay. And here we get into the codey part. Okay. So page titles and meta descriptions are the two key pieces of code for your website. Okay, so every single page on the internet should have these things. They tell you the title, like a book. They tell you the title of the page you're on, and they also give you a little summary of that page. So here, title is Air Max Trainers.Nike BE. And then the description of it, it's saying embrace the past, present, and future. Okay, so in those and what is really important about the title and the description is that they go on to become your search result. So the Air Max Trainers becomes the title that becomes your search engine listing. So how can you use that knowledge that your header and your description are going to be visible to the search engine? Sell them, make them really compelling, make people want to click on them. Okay. Oh, here we are. That I didn't realize that one built for me. Fabulous. Okay. So when you're looking at your headings, there are different levels of headings. H1 tags are more prominent than lower down tags. Your heading is your main thing, and then you have subheadings below. So use your most important keywords in your H1 and H2 headings, and maybe some of those less important ones further down. because you're going to use these to highlight to the spider that these are the things to look at when you're indexing the page. Okay. So a user looking at a web page would just scan the page quickly to read the content. A search engine scanning the page is going to use the tags that you add, those headings and subheadings, to consider what's important on it. Okay. So when you're thinking about improving this away, so HTML for photos and HTML for videos, use descriptive names and use alt text. So alt text is, imagine if you are on the internet and you hover over a picture and a little, used to be yellow box appears with some writing in it. Now that could be, that's your alt text for that photo and it's used to describe the photo, or it could say 74362.jpg because that's the file name that that photo came in with. If you change the name of the photos as you upload them, or if you use the alt text to do so, then you're going to get a boost from what that photo. So use something descriptive. Okay. The alt text on the one shown in this example here is 3 old wooden carts. Okay. And then you can see here how it comes together in the alt tag there, 3 old wooden carts, and it's a photo. Yeah. So it shows you're being descriptive. So if somebody is looking for old wooden carts, your photo, which perfectly shows that, is going to do it. Keep your files low, the file sizes as low as possible, because the slower, the thing we haven't really spoken about is slow to load pages don't work so well. So when you're thinking about indexing, quick recap that the spider comes to your website through those links, crawls and understands your website content, stores it, indexes it using those header tags and things that we've talked about. Then when the user pops in their search query, relevant results show up. So to make sure the spider finds what it needs, we want to give it a sitemap. It's more technical. Hopefully you've got a developer who will know what an XML sitemap is. Here we have a sitemap that users would use that you find in the footer so they can quickly jump to what you want. This is an XML sitemap. And you can upload your XML sitemap into your Google Search Console, which shows the search engines what's going on your website and how to find it. Okay. So now I'm going to give you a few tools very quickly that you might want to consider. If you're going to measure your site speed, and Sarah will pop links into all of these tools, there's a great site called Google's Page Speed Insights, which can help you measure your site speed. And there's also, that's quite a technical one, but we also have Test My Site, which is it's part of Grow with Google, and it's a great site to check on your mobile web speed. And both of those sites give you improvement recommendations. So I'd check them both out and see which one makes more sense to you. When you're thinking about your keywords, check out Keyword Planner, which is a Google Ads tool, no charge. But also don't forget, you can think maybe about Google Trends, which is a great one for seeing what's going on. So search trends, check out Google Trends, which is a really good place to start your research. And then in terms of tracking your performance, check out Google Search Console, but hopefully you're also going to look at your Google Analytics. And if Google Analytics is your web analytics package, link it up to your search engine console, and you'll be able to see the search results that find your websites and then take those actions on your page. Okay. When you think about link building, do it naturally. The main link on it is be as natural and relevant as possible. Okay. Create content that's interesting, that's being likely to be shared, and then that's going to be linkable, shareable content. Don't pay for links. And don't add your link to your website as a kind of blousy sales technique, you know? Be genuine with your link building strategy. Okie dokie. In terms of social media, we mentioned it already. Reviews are great. So social media is a great place to do links and reviews. And you also might want to use it to influence potential collaborators. Find people who influential in your sphere, connect with them, link to them, talk to them genuinely, be sociable on social media. All right, I realized we had to whistle stop through that a little bit. Just checking in with Sarah, and there are no fresh questions that she hasn't been able to answer, which is why I love working with Sarah, because she makes sure everything runs so smoothly. So what I would love you to do you remember I said I wanted you to have 1, 2, or maybe 3 things you can do straight away from this webinar? I want you to pop them into the chat for me. Make a commitment to what you're going to do to improve your search engine optimization. Maybe it's a commitment that before the next IMCA webinar next week, there'll be some things you'll be able to have already taken some action. One of the things might be to check out and I hope it really should be check out the new Google for Small Business website. Remember, that's your one-stop shop to find the right tools and resources for your business. So there's a step-by-step online success guide, and there's lots of resources there that are going to help you show up on Google too. Sarah's popped that link in the chat, or you can grab it from the description box below. So if you're interested in more training, don't forget that you have our next event in this series, which is Learn the Basics of Google Ads, which follows on so nicely from what we've spoken about today. That is at 10:30 a.m. on September the 30th. So sorry, I said next week. It's actually 2 weeks' time. That's just my life running away with me there. Also, remember, if you're an IMCA member, you can claim CPD hours for this event. So contact the admin team over at IMCA and they will get that all sorted for you. There's a link in the description box down there below, but I'm sure Sarah will pop it in as well. If you want to check out that schedule of upcoming webinar training, see the information on that in the description box below as well. If you want to share your experience on social media, tell your friends, your family, your colleagues about the webinar, we're on #DigitalGarage. Carry on learning in your own time by checking out Google Digital Garage website. Any feedback from today's session, please do complete the feedback form linked in the description box. And once you complete that, you'll get a link to download today's content, which will also be available for you to rewatch the video for about 24 hours or so. Other than that, thank you. Thank you to the IMCA and to Pat for getting this all together. Thanks to Sarah for being an amazing side kick, and for the likes of Kim and Colin behind the scenes, which has been our pleasure to bring you this Google Digital Garage training session. And we look forward to welcoming you back to another session sometime soon.